Coming up on Look Today, well, schools in the region take active steps against bullying. I've got details. And Congressman Chris Gibson announces he will not run for governor in 2018. More on that coming up. And SUNY Adirondack sponsors an impaired and distracted driving program. I've got those details. It's all ahead on Look Today. Welcome, everyone. I'm Jay Hood Jackson, and this is Look Today. In tonight's program, I sit down with Joe Dragoni. He's the superintendent of the Ballston Spa School District, and he's here to talk about their recent achievements. And I also sit down with Anita Paley. She's the executive director of the Saratoga EOC, and we're joined by A.C. Riley. She's the honorary chair, and they're here to talk about May Day Spring Fling that's happening tomorrow night. Plus, we have your weather for the Tri-North counties. But first, we've got these headline stories. Well, in our lead story, schools all over the region are addressing the issue of bullying. According to the National Bullying Prevention Center, 1 out of every 4 students reports being bullied in a school year. Now, while studies show that 64% of children do not report it even. Now, studies also show that the reasons for bullying are attributed to looks, body shape, and race. 50%, 57% of bullying situations stop when peers intervene on behalf of the victims. Well, this anti-bullying campaign, called Sweethearts and Heroes, empowers students to help their peers overcome bullying situations. Tom Murphy, who is a professional MMA fighter, together with teacher Jason Spector, developed this program to take active steps against bullying. Tom Murphy believes that students can help one another by being their personal superhero. Well, we spoke to him about one student taking on that role.
He was the kind of kid that we talk about in our message. He's the kind of kid that went above and beyond to help other young men and young women that weren't treated the right way. And we knew that we had to get into the school where he went to school and share our message, because we have not just a life-changing but a life-saving message.
Wow, tell me in this day and age we don't need this kind of help. In other news, SUNY Adirondack sponsored an impaired and distracted driving program for its students. The Unites Arrive Alive Tour uses a high-tech simulator, impact video, and a number of other resources to educate the public about the dangers of texting and drinking while driving. The simulator allows students to experience the potential consequences of impaired and distracted driving. Now, about 89% of all Americans have a cell phone, and drivers under the age of 20 have more of a risk of distraction-related fatal crashes. Well, switching from news to weather, today we mostly saw overcast skies, with the sun maybe thinking about coming out. Let's see how the rest of the week is shaping up. For a more detailed look at our weather, we're going to head to the Glens Falls Weather Center for a look at our first forecast. And back to the news. Well, Republican Congressman Chris Gibson announced on Monday that he will not run for governor of New York in 2018. The congressman has decided he will leave politics completely when his term is up at the House of Representatives, which is going to happen at the end of this year. Now, many people considered him a legitimate candidate to run against Governor Cuomo. Well, he plans on taking a job at Williams College in Massachusetts, and in tonight's Lookout, I want to have something to say about Chris. In other news, the Northeast Antique Truck and Tractor Club held its annual show over the weekend. The annual Plow Day took place right outside Schuylerville and featured tractors from as far back as the 1960s. The event encouraged people to come out and use their plows as well. Well, we spoke to a club member, John Dio, about the event.
It's our annual Plow Day. We try to get everybody that's got an antique tractor and an old plow come out and enjoy using their equipment, because it mostly doesn't get used. It mostly sits around.
Well, up next, I sit down with Joe Dragoni. He's the superintendent of the Ballston Spa School District, and he's here to talk about their recent achievements. Plus, I also sit down with Anita Paley. She's the executive director of the Saratoga EOC. And we're joined by A.C. Riley. She's the honorary chair, and they're here to talk about May Day spring fleeing that's happening tomorrow night. But first, if you see news happening, you want to share a story idea, how about join us for an interview? Give us a call on the hotline. The number is 798-8000. Well, that's all the time we have for this edition of Look Today. Well, I've got a couple of lookouts. So the first one has to go to Chris Gibson. Backstory on this one. I first met Chris many, many years ago when I had an issue that I needed his help on. He was a congressman for the 21st District at the time. And I met him, and we sat down, and just from the get-go, I could tell how concerned he was with it. He asked a lot of questions, he understood the issue, he helped me craft a response, and more importantly, he followed through. Very genuine person, and someone that in this day and age, don't you wish all politicians were like that? Another lookout. We're premiering a show this week that I want you to catch. It's called Her Look. It's all about women's issues, and it's hosted by Ruth Fine. It's underwritten by Town Ryan and Partners, a law firm in Albany County, including Saratoga, and Glens Falls Hospital. And finally, I've gotten a couple of requests for new Beyond the Headlines. And I just want the viewers to know that we had some scheduling issues. Mike Lenz and I were working real hard on guests and timing and things like that. Well, it looks like we sorted it out because we're about ready to start a new season of Beyond the Headlines. So thank you for your inquiries about that. Tonight on Look TV, it's a Queensbury Town Board meeting. Now don't forget, tune in tomorrow night for the stories that matter to you. Good night, everyone.